Hello, my name is Chris Previty, and I'm a partner in the Healthcare and Human Service practice at the Boston accounting and consulting firm of Feeley Driscoll. Today I will be discussing the 2014 Annual Nonprofit Tax Update and Form 990 changes. Should you have any additional questions following this webcast, please feel free to reach out to me at 888-875-9770 or visit us on the web at www.fdcpa.com. Each year, the IRS releases an update on their Form 990, and these updates can be difficult to navigate through because of the significant length and number of schedules on the 990 itself. Today I hope to provide some brief clarity to their significant 2014 form changes. So there were some small wording modifications to the instructions, which is something the IRS does every year to help provide clarity in their forms, but nothing really impacting the information being requested or the definitions used to define the key items in their return. Only some of the minor modifications to the questions in the core form, so that's the good news. However, the IRS did make significant changes to Schedules A, H, and L. Schedule A is the Public Support and Charity Form, Schedule H is your Hospital Form, and Schedule L is Interested Persons. Schedule A, the Public Charity Status Form, was revamped to enhance the report for Section 509A3 supporting organizations. When you look at it at first, the form itself doubled in size. So it went from 4 pages to 8 pages. Pretty significant change. So as we're all aware, all supporting organizations must satisfy organizational, operational relationship, and then certain other control tests. Basically what the IRS has done is they wanted to make it a little bit easier and provide a little bit more information to the reader of the 990. So the Schedule A has been redesigned to ask specific questions on how organizations actually meet these requirements, rather than in the past where organizations were just required to answer simple yes or no questions. There will also be some narrative required. So just like in the core form, when you answer a specific question, it's going to take you to the supplemental information section and require you to fill out a narrative, thus the doubling size of that form. On Schedule H, which is the hospital schedule, there's expanded reporting, which is going to include subordinate organizations that are part of a group return. So naturally, this is only going to impact those providers that file a group return. Previously, hospital organizations could answer specific questions as it relates to all of the hospitals together. Now, under the new instructions, the IRS is looking for clarity on an individual hospital basis, so there are additional questions that are required to be completed by each hospital organization rather than the organization in totality. With some of the more significant changes occurred in the Schedule H was in Part 5, Section B. This is your Community Health Needs Assessment section. Since 2008, the IRS has been slowly implementing this community health needs requirement, and there's been a lot of discussion regarding how the implementation strategy needs to be posted, how the health needs assessment needs to be completed, at what date it needs to be completed by, and what the 3-year time period in which it needs to be completed. The instructions did provide some clarity to those instructions. It also included additional questions in the Form 990 that help make this clearer to the reader. So some of the changes in the Community Health Needs Assessment section were 2 new questions added in the report on the timing of when the hospital became a tax-exempt hospital facility. Now, naturally, this was only going to be applicable to any new hospital facilities. They also expanded the questions added to find out if the hospital facility's health needs assessment was conducted with one or more organizations or other hospital facilities. This is no longer just a yes or no question. If your health needs assessment was completed with another organization in your community, you must specifically state that organization right on the Form 990. There was additional reporting required for hospitals' facilities implementation strategy. And what this means is that in the past, the implementation strategy was required to be in writing and voted on by your board of directors. This year, it's required to be documented in the Schedule H. In years past, the instructions are what specifically stated this requirement to be. Now it's just clearer on the form. Lastly, there's enhanced narrative reporting to describe how the hospital facility is addressing the significant health needs that were identified in the health need assessment report, including why certain needs may not be addressed. Now, these changes to the Schedule H do provide some clarity to the form. If you're a reader of the Form 990 or the Schedule H, you get a better understanding as to when the hospital facility completed their health needs assessment, when the implementation strategy was documented and approved, and when it was actually put in place. Lastly, there were some also changes to the financial assistance policy section, which included more detailed reporting regarding eligibility criteria for financial assistance and hospital collection practices. This is in Part 3 of the Schedule H. Onto the Schedule L in your interested persons schedule, there were some changes that came into play for Part 2, which was loans to and from interested persons. Also some changes for Parts 3 and Parts 4, which are grants or assistance benefiting interested persons and business transactions involving interested persons. Basically, the changes were to help standardize the definition and provide more clarity to what an interested person actually was. In years past, the definition of an interested person differed from each part of the Schedule L. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, or Part 4. This year, well, in 2014, the definition is going to be uniform for Parts 2 through 4, where Part 1 is still going to include the same definition as in years past. Also, the change in 2014 that the definition of an interested person does not include another Section 501c3 organization. This was something that was not clear in years past, but it's spelled out specifically in the instructions now. Lastly, on Schedule L, the 2013 instructions added some language for reasonable effort in regards to Part 2. The 2014 instructions expand the reasonable effort clause to the entire Schedule L. And what that clause is, it states that if the organization makes a reasonable effort to obtain information that should be reported in Schedule L, then it would not be subject to any fines or scrutiny if there was information incidentally left off of the report. So that reasonable effort would include sending out a questionnaire to request information, such as your conflict of interest questionnaire that most likely gets sent out every year. So as long as this questionnaire is sent out, the organization has considered to have made a reasonable effort to obtain the information required to fill out the form, and they would have done their job. Well, thank you for listening to this brief overview of the Form 990 in 2014 Nonprofit Tax Update. Again, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me at 888-875-9770 or visit us at www.ftcpa.com. Thank you.